And with that, we're up to our headliner. Returning for his fifth Sparks Talk is Nick Carter. Nick is a serial entrepreneur in Indy. You may know him from his role in tech startups like Address2, but he's also an Indiana farm kid. For over the past 5 years, he has spent most of his time and energy innovating local food systems. His passion is to see family farms thrive again by creating markets for locally produced foods. Please help me welcome Nick Carter to the Sparks stage.
I should go the other direction. There we go. My oldest daughter is 9 years old. Her name's Kezia, and she's taking physics. She's 9 years old. She's in a physics class, so she's a little bit smarter than me, a little too smart sometimes. On Sunday night, we said, hey, did you get all your homework done? She was like, yeah. And I was like, well, let me see it, you know. Dad of the Year award, it's November, and that's the first time I've done that this semester. So she brought her stuff down. I'm flipping through it, and everything, sure enough, is complete. I decided to actually read an answer. What is an atom? A really small thing. I was like, it's been a while since I was in physics class, but there's a more precise answer than that. What is a compound? She had written, not simple. So I keep flipping through more of this. I'm like, you haven't done any of this stuff. I was like, have you read the chapters? You know, she wasn't familiar with any of the subjects. She had no idea what any of this stuff was about, and it's been going on for weeks. And here's the thing. In class, they go over this stuff. They even have quizzes and tests. I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, well, they're open book. And she had figured out that most of the answers to the questions and the tests were keywords from the chapter. And there's only like 10 or 12 of those in the chapter, which basically makes it multiple choice and process of elimination. She had been passing her quizzes and tests, couldn't tell you what an atom or a compound was. And then I'm like, well, what is this homework? She's like, well, it's completion. She just looks to make sure that it's done. So she's 9 years old and had already figured out how to follow the rules, get the outcome she needed, which was to pass the class, and that was all there was to it. So we could have solved this problem by making up some new rules, like you have to do the reading in front of me, or you have to do your homework and I have to check it, or I'm going to grade it. And what we decided to do instead was to tell her what she had done to her teacher. Because her teacher is actually somebody that she knows well. It's the mother of another classmate she has. She's known her for years. And we said, well, Mrs. Moore works really hard to teach you this stuff, and you've lied to her, and you've tricked her. She doesn't know that you've been doing this. You've been tricking her. And she was mortified. And she's like, stays up late reading more out of her book, and she redid her homework stuff, and we actually made her go into school on Monday and tell Mrs. Moore what she had done. And now she's trying to catch up. She's reading late into the night out of a physics textbook all by herself. Her behaviors have changed because she has a social connection to the person who her behaviors were hurting. And that social connection modified her behavior. In our food system today, in our industrial food system, that social fabric that would connect the farmer and the food producer to you as the person who eats it is nearly gone. We got an email from Costco not long ago. You need to come in. Apparently the lettuce that we sold to your family might have E. coli on it. Just come up to the customer service desk, you know. And so I go in. I go up to the customer service desk. This guy that doesn't know me from Adam, I've never really met him before. Maybe at one point, just long enough for him to put a Sharpie marker on a receipt, whatever that's all about. I'm like, here's this bag of lettuce that apparently could have killed my children and wife. And he's like, here's $1.99, you know. Go get yourself another bag. Right? He wasn't mortified. He wasn't, and nor should he be, by the way. He's not the guy that grew the lettuce, and it's unknowable who did. There's no social connection between myself and the person who grew lettuce that has E. coli on it. Now, what you need to know about E. coli is that it doesn't naturally grow on lettuce. It's not a naturally occurring thing that would be on lettuce leaves normally, which means that somebody broke some rules in order to get E. coli onto my lettuce. No amount of rules and regulations is going to solve this problem, okay? Nobody is really feeling the social pain of what takes place when someone spends a weekend with food poisoning on their bathroom floor in the fetal position. Nobody feels that social pain like Kezia did with her teacher. So E. coli is an interesting one. When I say people had to break some rules, it's some pretty disgusting rules. If you guys don't know about what E. coli is, it doesn't grow on lettuce or anything like that. E. coli doesn't grow on lettuce. It grows in the intestines of animals, so you don't need to be a rocket science to make this connection together. There's two most common ways that E. coli makes its way onto lettuce leaves. The first one is from manure. It's a very good fertilizer. The problem is, like you guys probably enjoyed some great celery or cucumbers or lettuce. These are all foods that nobody's going to sanitize or cook before you eat them, right? This is cold water rinsing down the hatch. So if you're going to use that kind of fertilizer in a field, there are all kinds of rules around how to do it. The amount of time that has to pass, the amount that you can even put per acre, the spreading percentage and things like that. A lot of times they require that you inject it under the surface of the soil so that it cannot come into contact with the soil if you're going to be raising that kind of a crop in that field. And you can be assured that if you get E. coli on your lettuce, somebody wasn't following the rules. But the rules apparently didn't solve the problem because there's no social connection between you and the person that did that. There's another way that E. coli gets onto lettuce. It's the second most common, and that is the fact that when a team of laborers is out in a field hand-picking lettuce, they're oftentimes paid by the pound, not by the hour. And while they have a restroom facility all the way on the other end of that field, it's a long walk. So and wipe your hands off and get back to work. People are breaking rules, and they're not going to meet you when you fall ill. There is one surefire way to make sure that you can buy poop-free lettuce, and it is nothing to do with getting an insignia or a certification or a code on the package to make sure that they follow the rules. It has to do with buying lettuce from somebody that you could know. If you buy lettuce from a farmer in your community, their kids go to school with your kids. If you happen to get sick, you could march onto their farm. You know who they are, they know who you are, and they're going to bear the social cost of having been irresponsible with the food that you entrusted them to grow for you. You can be sure that that person isn't going to be skirting those rules, not because the rule exists, but because of the social connection that you can have with them. All of the regulations and the red tape and the certifications and rules that we've built into our food system today are all incredibly poor substitutes for the transparency and the social connection that at one time existed in our food system. If you trust any of these pictures, pretty pictures on a package, to your family's safety, you're putting your trust in somebody who has zero social connection to the ramifications that happen if they don't live up to what they've said that they were going to do. The organic certification, by the way, is the worst of all of these. It does not mean what you think it means. Most people think that organic means that the food was grown naturally without any artificial chemical fertilizers or anything like that. Well, I have news for you. Lettuce doesn't naturally grow in 1,000 contiguous acres where no other plants or insects also live. The only way that happens is people do it, and they have to kill all the other plants like dandelions and clover and things that you don't want to find in your spring mix, and also all the insects that would eat holes through the leaves. The only difference between organic and not organic lettuce is that the farmer who has the organic circle on his package used a predefined set of chemicals that was already allowed to kill all the plants and the insects in his field, and then he paid a government inspector to come out to his farm and check his homework. And they look at it about like I'd been looking at Kezia's, check, gone, down the hatch. My challenge for you guys is not that you convert your entire diets to local food. I'm not sure that you could if you wanted to. Because, as I said, a lot of this social fabric has been disintegrated to the point that you couldn't convert your entire diet today to all stuff from sources that you would identify. And if you've been paying attention, you know that even I myself, who am an author on local food, own a local food distributorship, also have a Costco membership, and from time to time buy food there, okay? My challenge for you is that this holiday season, pick something that's really important to you and your family. If it's a pie, if it's the turkey, if it's the centerpiece meat, right? If it's good, crusty, European-style bread, if it's the coffee that you're going to brew and taste in the morning, and buy it from somebody that you know. That by the relationship, when you put the money in their hands, you know you're impacting them. And when they put the food in your hands, you're trusting them. Do that transaction one time. If you've never done it before, do that transaction one time. Because once you do, I don't think you'll be able to think about food in the same way anymore, and your grocery habits will begin to change because you won't be able to buy food from nameless, faceless people that you have no social connection to anymore. So give it a try this holiday season. Thank you.
Don't delay. Get your ticket for the next Sparks event today.